Thank you, Sharon. That was really awesome. Filled my spirit. The theme for August 2021 is a pause for guidance. And the topic for today is a time for a tune-up. Our inspired passages today come from Israel Moore Ivor, who wrote, "Our troubles begin the moment our teachers believe they know it all, and our learners think they are not teachable." Sharon L. Alder once said, "Happiness is always on the other side of being teachable." And Meister Eckhart recommended, "Be willing to be a beginner every single morning." Let us speak this affirmation together with a willingness to be taught. Today I am realigned with spiritual truth. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
So I'm going to begin by saying, may the force be with you. And that reminds me, why was Yoda fired from his job giving guidance to married couples?
I don't know. Why was Yoda fired for giving counseling to married couples?
He kept telling people to use divorce. All right. So now that I have your attention, and we're a little bit more lighthearted maybe than when we entered, I want you to think about the importance of listening for guidance. Taking a breath, listening for guidance. So there might be something that's on your mind this morning that you came with. So we're going to bring that spirit that laughing spirit, the inner wisdom of ourselves that can look and watch and witness some of the challenges that we might have from a higher perspective, from a broader perspective. And we do that through a practice. And I'm going to have us do it right now. Just close your eyes. Just focus on some challenge or frustration or whatever it is that you brought today or that you've been dealing with throughout the week. Just take a moment and just think about that lightly. Just observe it. Follow your breath for a moment now. Turn within to the silence. And ask for guidance. And it can be something simple as, show me the answer, or show me what I must do. Ask the question. Now let go. Rest in the silence of your inner being. What in the scriptures they called rest in God. And listen. Just take a moment and listen. And notice what comes up. And if nothing came up, I want you to know something. And this is the power of this kind of practice. You can open your eyes now. The power of this practice is that the more we do it, the more we take a moment, pause, and listen for guidance, which is our topic for the entire month, the more that we will receive those answers, that guidance, more quickly and more easily as we move throughout our day. But that beautiful time of dropping into the silence, asking for guidance, and something like, show me. Show me what I must do. Show me the answer. We're talking to the divine presence within us. All the answers are there. And if they don't come in that moment, believe me, it'll show up sometime throughout the day. That's what I've noticed from practicing this for quite some time. And so this practice of pausing for guidance is the spiritual path for solution, for new ideas, for any innovations that take place within us, through us, as us. And it's also a portal to living as our divine presence, as more peace, more joy, more love, more good of every kind. So today we're going to pause for guidance by taking a moment or some time for a spiritual tune-up. And I like to start with a part of the CSL, the Centers for Spiritual Living, global vision, to kind of set the tone, because this is something that just kind of re-anchors us in vision. We know vision pulls us forward. So this is the part I want to share with you. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with his or her highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God and connection with each other, a world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. Isn't that beautiful? I know I've read it before, but it's really important for me, I'll just say, to continue to re-anchor in the higher vision, because we're sharing these visions. We have our own vision statements, but we're sharing these vision statements with the Centers for Spiritual Living all over the planet. So we're connecting into a larger matrix of light beings and planting the seed of this vision into the soil of the collective consciousness. And so we're doing some really powerful work. It's work on the level of the invisible, but it's a way in which the invisible becomes visible. So time for a tune-up. I'm going to actually be covering 3 basic points. Time for a tune-up by getting spiritual support. Take time for a tune-up by being teachable, and that you could see that was in our quotes today. And also taking time for a tune-up by reevaluating what must I shed and what must I share. What must I shed and what must I share? These are ways to really tune ourselves up and get back into alignment. So think about it. I mean, I know when my car gets a regular tune-up, I don't know about your car, but when my car gets a regular tune-up, it functions better. I can rely on it to do what it's supposed to do. And I go to the chiropractor, at least once a month, sometimes more, depending on what's going on, to get a tune-up of my spine, to get my spine back into alignment. And also, I've learned over the years the importance of getting a regular, and I do it daily and sometimes multiple times a day, a spiritual tune-up by through prayer, and the type of prayer that we do, which is spiritual mind treatment. And I've talked about this many times before, and I've actually recently, in some of the newsletter greetings, sent a PDF of a really nice document that shows you how to structure a spiritual mind treatment, which has been shown to it's actually scientifically proven to change consciousness. And it's a little different from the way many of us maybe have learned to pray, which is a prayer of supplication. God, please do this for me. It's an affirmative prayer. It comes from the understanding that we are co-creators with God, and so we speak the truth and we release that word into the universal law of mind. So getting a daily tune-up. So I I pray daily with my daughter. And I also, so we do that daily. We do spiritual mind treatment daily, sometimes twice a day. And in addition to that, I have three practitioners who are licensed professional practitioners. So I'm doing a little encouragement for all of you to consider working with a licensed practitioner for a tune-up at least once a month. Just connecting. We have it offered to you every Sunday after service. We have practitioners available. Today it's Candace. She's going to be doing a prayer circle at the end of service. It's a great opportunity to get a tune-up, to get yourself realigned with higher truth. We use prayer in the morning. We go into the parent room down the hall, and we pray before the service to get ourselves all tuned up and ready to go. We do prayer out in the hallway with all of the volunteers around 9:20 to get everybody into attunement and alignment with their spiritual truth. And that way we are prepared, ready, and available. We are a clear channel through which the divine I am, our true self, is able to express itself. Very powerful way of tuning up. So here's the way life works. Life is an outpicturing of consciousness, our collective consciousness and our individualized consciousness. So spiritual mind treatment is designed to transform consciousness, which is the place from which your life is given birth. You know, what you see, what you experience, what you express comes from consciousness. And it's a lot of it's in this, it's in the subconscious mind. And so the way that we find out what's in our subconscious mind, what our belief structure is we look at our lives and see how it's working or not working. But we do it non-judgmentally. We do it with a curiosity like, oh, this is interesting. So I wonder what is it that I can shift or change in order to, produce a different picture in my life. So really, in many ways, we are these amazing divine beings that are projecting life experience through the filters of our beliefs. And prayer helps us to change the film, to be more in alignment with who we are in truth so that we show up as that beneficial presence that we choose to be. Show up as all of those qualities that we choose to show up as. So I was just thinking about how does prayer, or how has this consistent practice of prayer supported me over the years? It's helped me to build faith and trust because I've seen the results of it in my life. It's improved my relationships. It's opened me to a flow of divine inspiration. It's helped me to do things like get up and talk in front of all of you fairly fluently and articulately, whereas in the past I would be, in the early years, I was like shaking and terrified, and that's not even on my radar screen anymore. I have greater peace of mind. I've increased the consciousness of abundance, so I see the good everywhere on a regular basis, and actually quite naturally. It used to be I had to like focus my mind and like focus on the good, focus on the good. And now I just more naturally do that. And it's increased my self-esteem and self-worth because I understand that it's intrinsic. It's something within me. It's not something I need from something outside of myself. So prayer. This, again, just a reminder. A way to line yourself up with truth is to get regular spiritual support, and our practitioners are here to serve you. Number 2, taking time to tune up by being teachable. So our troubles begin when we believe that we know it all. I'm just paraphrasing what was just read. When we believe that we know it all, and we believe that there's nothing you can teach us. That's arrogance, right? Like, I don't, I already know that. If you hear yourself saying, I already know that, then you know that the part of you that doesn't want to grow and expand and learn that's the voice. That's the voice that's in resistance of anything new. So being teachable. And here's the principle. This is how it works. In order to learn and grow, we must be willing to learn. In order to learn, we must be teachable. And in order to be teachable, we must be humble. We must be humble. Now, I know humility in this culture has often gotten a bad rap. It seems as if narcissism and an arrogance are highly supported. And yet we know that it's taking humanity down a path that is self-destructive. So humility is considered the mother of all virtues. And I'm going to be showing you why that's true in these next few moments. But by spiritual traditions, since the time began, humility has been considered the mother of all virtues. And it's also, and here's the thing, science has gotten involved and run experiments on it. And also scientifically, it's proven that humility is highly valuable for each and every one of us in order to be happy, healthy, and thriving individuals. So think about it for a minute. Think about how you feel around somebody who is humble, somebody who is willing to admit their errors, somebody who is willing to just be that presence with that you can just be who you are. So what is that's involved? Well, for me, I feel safe. I feel able to be my authentic self. I feel able to admit the challenges that I'm having and to get help for them. So I've learned over the years that humility has served me very well, and the moments that I haven't been have not served me well. So I continue to keep practicing humility in my life. I have no qualms with sharing with my prayer partners the challenges that I have because I know that's how I grow. That's how I grow. And so I encourage all of you to look at this quality. And maybe you've already developed it. I don't know. Each one of you is an individual. But where in your life are you being arrogant? Are you, practicing something that's not serving you? And where in your life can you call in more humility? More humility. So a little bit more about humility. I had a supervisor some years ago. I used to be an accountant years ago. When it was back in my 20s and 30s, or early 30s. And at that time, I was like a real perfectionist, and I was really afraid of making mistakes. But I know one time I had made this huge error, and so I went to my supervisor, and her name was Carolyn Fosnall. This is back when I used to work with Wisman and Associates, who was our previous landlord when we were over at Woodmill. I would go to her, and she just looked at me very kindly, and she said, "Okay, well, let's see what we can do to fix it." She like joined me. Okay, let's see what we can do to fix it. There was no blaming. There was no shaming. There was just simply, okay, let's find solution together. It was like an adventure. Let's find the solution. Can you imagine for a young person, because I was still like in my 20s at the time, how powerful that was, just that experience of knowing that it was okay. It was okay that I made a mistake. It was okay, and we could do something about it. That's humility. She was not only modeling it, she was helping me practice it and grow in that quality. I learned to be humble, and I learned to be teachable. So being humble then means being willing to be vulnerable, which is very liberating, and that I no longer need to hide my challenges. I no longer need to hide my errors in thinking. I no longer need to be in defensive mode, defending myself. And so there are 3 ways that we can cultivate humility. So this is kind of a little subset of being teachable, right? So let's keep our eye on the idea of being teachable, because humility is totally important. So mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude all help us cultivate humility. Mindfulness, which is linked to greater psychological, emotional, spiritual well-being, is a way in which we practice self-awareness, becoming aware of our thoughts and feelings. So just stop for a moment. Let's practice a little mindfulness. It's this simple. I have a little reminder on my phone that goes off and tells me, like once an hour, to stop and listen, become mindful. So it's that simple. So close your eyes, turn within, and just notice the thoughts and the feelings that are going on within you right now. Notice the thoughts and the feelings. And do it without judging yourself. Just be almost like a scientist, very interested. Okay, and then when you're ready, open your eyes. And so the practice is this. It begins by noticing and then making a choice. If it's not something that's serving you, in other words, if you're feeling anything other than peace, love, and joy and happiness, then there's a thought there that is not serving you. And so we have an opportunity to replace the thought that's not serving, some people call them negative thoughts, with a thought that uplifts. And so we replace one with the other. That's the practice of mindfulness, listening, noticing, and making the shift when it's necessary. Now, here's what happens over time. If we do this on a regular day-to-day basis, we may not notice anything initially, but over time, we become a different person. I feel like my life is an example of that. I still I want to grow. That's humility. It's not like I've achieved it all. Oh my gosh, I'm totally enlightened. In truth, this journey on this planet is a continued unfoldment. In fact, Gandhi, as enlightened as he was, this is a statement that he made. He said, "I claim to be a simple individual liable to err like any other fellow mortal. I own, however, that I have humility enough to confess my errors and to retrace my steps." What a great role model of humility. Would you feel safe being around Gandhi? Think about it. Yeah. So humility then is the willingness to confess our errors, to practice self-compassion. That means not to judge ourselves, and to practice self-acceptance, and then to gently and patiently replace negative thought and action with positive. And then what we'll find over time is the new person, the new version of ourselves that emerges is less likely to act aggressively, less likely to lash out at others, less likely to be judgmental, less likely to criticize, less likely to manipulate, and less likely to be dishonest or to destroy relationships. That's what happens by practicing mindfulness and shifting our thinking. It's beautiful. This is all research. I'm not just making this up. I found a beautiful article on this online. So then research again suggests that humble people handle stress better, report higher levels of well-being, and show greater generosity, helpfulness, and gratitude. So gratitude was the third thing, was mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude. Think about gratitude. I mean, it comes up all the time. We have a whole month dedicated to it usually every November. gratitude is an amazing thing. And so, there's so many different ways to look at it. We know it raises our vibration. We know that it's the ultimate, if we want more abundance in our lives, it's one of the ultimate spiritual practices is to keep gratitude lists and to consciously look for the good and feel grateful for it. But also think about it. When you say thank you, what does it mean? It means what? It means that I recognize the gifts that are coming to me. I recognize the gifts that are coming to me, and I recognize the value of other people. Wow. That's powerful. So humility, gratitude is a practice, it's a hallmark of humility. Notice that when people are not grateful, that they are not thinking about other people, they're thinking about themselves. So it's a great way to practice thinking about other people, becoming more focused on others. It doesn't mean you lose sight of yourself, but you become more aware of those around you in a greater beneficial presence. So the key to humility then is this. Let's take a big, broad look at it. Seeing life as a journey for cultivating those qualities that bring out the best in ourselves and in others and make this world a better place. That's why it's the mother of all virtues. It's the birthplace of all of those amazing qualities of God because we're teachable. We're willing to shift our thinking and get into alignment with all of those higher qualities. Humility. And so Nelson Mandela, another man who expressed humility. He said, "You never have an impact on society if you have not changed yourself. Great peacemakers are all people of integrity, of honesty, and humility." And humility. And so I'm going to say this again. In order to grow, you must be willing to learn. In order to learn, you must be willing to be teachable. In order to be teachable, you must be humble. There you go. Humble. Okay. So the third way to tune up our lives, reevaluating. And that's pretty much what we're doing when we're being mindful. Reevaluating, what must I shed and what must I share? Because we know the shedding part is important, to shed all of the negative thoughts and so on. But also there's another aspect of sharing what we have in order to grow that quality in ourselves. Sharing what we have in order to grow that quality in ourselves. So I'd like to start with a story of a lobster. There was a lobster. I was wondering what Dan would pick for this one. Okay, so long ago there was a certain lobster who thought that the Creator had made a mistake. So what he did was he made an appointment with the Creator. And finally got together with the Creator, and he said, in all due respects, Creator, I think you made a mistake when you designed me. He said, because you see, the moment I really get used to the shell that I have, and I'm feeling really good about it, then I have to shed it and get another one and make another one. He said, it's just a huge waste of time and energy. And so to this, the Creator responded, I hear you, but do you realize that giving up the shell, the one shell, allows you to grow into a greater version of yourself in the next shell? And the lobster said, but I like the way I am. I'd rather just keep it. It's all good. And so the Creator said, okay, very well. You get to keep the shell that you're in. So initially the lobster was like, yes, yes, yes. And so went through his life, went on day by day and was loving this shell. And then over time, it kept getting a little tighter and more uncomfortable. And pretty soon he could hardly breathe. And so he like took off and made another appointment with the creator and said, he said, what is going on here? He said, I asked you that I wanted to keep this shell. And instead, it's shrinking. It's shrinking. And so the creator said to this, you know, it's actually, it's the same size. He said, what's happening is we all have within us the urge to grow. There's this growing urge into you. So you're bumping up against the shell. And so anyway, he said, this is the way life is. Life is designed that we are all growing, expanding, and unfolding. That's the design. To which the lobster began to think to himself about what he had agreed to. And the creator reminded him, that the plan is not only to grow, you're growing in size. He said, this is about growing in the qualities of love and peace and joy, being a beneficial presence. It's growing in the inner strength and the capacity to love others, to love yourself, to love life. That is the plan. Ernest Holmes had a very similar quote that spoke to this, and it goes like this. You should let go of the lesser in order to experience the greater. If you lose your sense of unhappiness, you will become happy. If you lose the sense of confusion, you will become peaceful and clear-minded. And if you lose, anyway, and you can see where this is going. And so he ends with saying, this is the true meaning of when the scripture said losing your life, to be reborn. It's losing all of that stuff that doesn't serve us. So your tune-up then is shedding what you don't want. So think about it for a moment. What is it that's not serving you right now? Unhappiness, judgment, victim mentality, shaming and blaming others. The willingness to lose these, to let these go, will help you to grow and glow. I love that, to grow and glow, to glow as the radiant light that you are in truth. And then the second part of that principle is to tune up by sharing what you want. So again, what we share increases. To experience more peace, share peace in the world. To experience more love, find more people to love. In order to experience abundance, share a portion of what you earn or what you have to the cause of spreading spiritual truth on the planet. And there are other ways to share as well for the well-being of the whole. So let's breathe and turn within and pray. And just knowing in this powerful and present moment that we are here by divine appointment for the freer, fuller, more expanded expression of who we are in truth. We are here humbly available and ready to listen, ready to follow guidance within, ready to be teachable, ready to tune ourselves up spiritually in order to be of greater service on the planet, in order to show up as more peace, more joy, more love, more good, everything that we possibly could be. And so I give my thanks for this opportunity to let go of what doesn't serve, to share more of what we have, and to be that light in the world. I give my thanks for this truth. I release this word into the universal law of mind, and I invite all of us to accept it with a powerful yes.